let me just check the sound. Let me check the sound so you need to talk.
Yeah, okay. I'm here at Frederick's Restaurant with Frank Warren.
Yeah, that do. Okay.
I don't need to get any big intro, I'm just going to go straight to questions. Okay, yep. Frank, you took out a professional promoter's licence with the Border Control in December 1980. As I understand it, it wasn't necessarily a role you actively pursued so much as you were gaining a lot of momentum with your NBC so-called unlicensed promotions, and you were actually invited to take out a licence.
Yeah, that's right. Back then I'd run a number of shows outside the Bulls jurisdiction. We formed our own organisation called the National Boxing Council.
Yes.
And eventually I had an invitation and I decided to take it up.
So, it wasn't. You decided to take it up. Did you ever imagine you'd be as successful and enduringly so as you've been?
No, I didn't even set out to be a boxing promoter, really. Some things happened by accident, but I got involved, I got bitten by the bug. There's a lot of people doing boxing, and from there I just managed to, strive to do the best I could. Because whatever I get involved with, I always try to make sure it's the best, and that's what I did. And put together some big fights. It was very competitive. I was sort of basically having the door shut in my face everywhere, and cartel, and I wasn't willing to allow that to happen from my perspective. So what I did, I just got my head down and got on with my business.
It's been well documented that your first promotion lost a lot of money. You had this novel idea of putting on two fringe American light heavyweight contenders, Jerry the Bull Martin and Otis Gordon, and I believe I read one time you said, I thought it was going to be like a Thad Spencer versus Otis Martin, a classic in 1968, and it didn't pan out that way?
No, at the time it was going to be for the North American Boxing Federation title, and we had sanction for that, but because the board's regulation then, which I weren't too acquainted with, that you couldn't put championship fights, televised championship fights on unless you promoted a certain amount of fights. I fell outside that criteria, so therefore that we lost the tag. The fight, on paper, everybody thought it was going to be a great fight because they were two really, decent fighters. But cut a long story short, it wasn't to be, and it wasn't very well attended. And not only wasn't it well attended, it was pretty much a boring fight.
And yet, you were not remotely deterred, of course.
Sorry?
You weren't remotely put off by that first experience.
I mean, I lost money, but that's show business. A lot of things went on behind the scenes. A lot of obstacles that the British Boxing Board of Control in those days put up because they favoured the cartel group. But the bottom line was, I learnt from it and sort of went back, licked my wounds, learnt from my mistakes, and then got it back together again, and off we went.
Your first signing, in fact, was Keith Wallace, the Liverpool flyweight, ex-Olympian.
Signed young Keith, signed 3 fighters up who were in the England team. I think it was
Jimmy Price?
Jimmy Price, no, not Jimmy Price, it was Stevie Johnson and Jimmy Duncan. I signed those 3 guys from the England team. Took a couple of kids over from the NBC days with me, Gary Knight, Steve Jarman, and that was the sort of nucleus of my stable then.
When you came on the scene, you've already alluded to the fact that the cartel, Mickey Duff, Mike Barrett, Jarvis Astaire, Terry Lawless, very much a stranglehold on British boxing at the time. There was an opening for you, it would seem, because you were a bit the enfant terrible of British boxing at the time, and you took a few more risks, and their formula was getting a bit staid. True?
No, not really. I think what it was is that, first of all, there were no venues in London in those days. The only 2 venues was the Royal Albert Hall and Wembley. Wembley held at downstage about 10,000. Royal Albert Hall is a 5,000-seat arena, but it has the benches there, so you've only got about 3,500 tickets that you can sell, and they both had exclusive agreements with the guys in the cartel. So I had to go and find the venues to promote in, trying to get take it outside of a town hall situation. So Bloomsbury Crest Hotel, Alexandra Palace over, who eventually I went there to do something. But the bottom line was that. As I say, I had a lot of enthusiasm. I loved the game, and I was bitten by the bug. And listen, good fights are good fights. Public, whether I'm promoting or somebody else is promoting, that's all the public are interested in, seeing good fights. You dress them up, so we got round card girls, started bringing music in and all that stuff to try and sort of bring it into the.
You kind of started that, didn't you? Because you were doing that on the unlicensed promotions, and that was something in their more kind of classic kind of presentation. They'd never dreamed of that, would they?
That's correct. So there was lots, so we did all that, and it was quite, good fun. A change of way of doing things, but at the end of the day, all the public really. I mean, we all like the razzmatazz and all the dressing it up, but at the end of the day, it's the fights that matter. So I put together quite a few competitive fights, won a lot of purse bids, and managed then to get hold of get a TV deal with ITV.
When you talk about putting on competitive fights, do you feel that you are more likely to take risks then than you